It gets more ridiculous, convoluted and meaningless the longer it treks on, but there was some sort of kernel of a good movie buried deep down inside of this thing. Original score, C. Underwater is an admirably simple thriller undone, not by its familiarity, but by a lack of basic craft. Original score, 2 out of 4. A diverting knockoff, but it isn't as deep or as cohesive as its apparent inspirations. Directed by William Eubank and written by Brian Duffield and Adam Kozad, Underwater has multiple impressive assets and strong sequences, but is inconsistent with its execution, effectively watering down a lot of its promise. Underwater may be silly, but it stays afloat just enough to qualify as some kind of guilty pleasure. Original score, 2 out of 4. The first creature feature of the new decade is here, and boy is it dumb. Original score, 1 out of 4. This sometimes competent underwater creature feature doesn't appear to have an original concept or idea lurking anywhere in its superficial recesses. Original score, 2 out of 5. Remember how Jaws made you afraid to go into the water? Underwater makes you afraid to go into the theater. Eubank is close to a B-movie classic, but instead devolves into D-movie status. Original score, 2 out of 4. Alien knockoff number 963 traps its cast in a deep-sea story as lifeless as the Mariana Trench. Original score, 0 out of 4. The horror thriller plows along its B-movie action beats, but never takes the time to make us care about the characters. Original score, C-. Underwater certainly isn't as bad as it could have been, but it is leaking badly long before it reaches its limp conclusion, despite strong work by Kristen Stewart doing her best impression of Sigourney Weaver in Aliens. Original score, 2 out of 4. It's almost like the camera work and cinematography draw inspiration from snorkeling in a rainstorm. Original score, D. There are the makings of a decent survival thriller in Underwater, but everything gets tossed overboard by the disorientation of the rest of the movie, which just isn't all that scary. Original score, 1 out of 4. It's a challenge to keep action coherent and build suspense in the submerged environment simulated in Underwater, but Eubank doesn't meet it, instead falling back on stale shocks. A goof, a fun bad movie and a perfectly fine way to waste 90 minutes. Underwater doesn't amount to much, playing by tired genre rules when there's much more interesting man-made disaster panic for the taking. Original score, C-. A brazen knockoff that wants to be Alien at sea, instead it's just all wet. Shot 3 years ago, this soggy horror show wastes Kristen Stewart as a wannabe Ripley and provides further proof that January is the month Hollywood uses to bury its mistakes. Original score, 1.5 out of 5. Underwater is an adrenaline shot to the body and soul with a serious message from Mother Nature that never really rises above sea level. Even Kristen Stewart in that fierce haircut can't save it. All in all, Underwater was a decent viewing experience, but it was nothing special, and I'd say that similar stories were done in a much better way. Underwater treads the same waters, pun intended, as every Aliens-like sci-fi horror, utilizing so many familiar elements that have become outdated in of itself. Original score, 2.5 out of 5. The title Underwater is as bland as it comes, and yet it's the perfect moniker for this utterly derivative hybrid. Original score, 2 out of 5. Underwater isn't boring, and is mercifully brief, but does little more than moderately entertain as it goes through the alien-esque motions. Original score, C. Underwater is a tense and relentless thrill ride at the bottom of the ocean, but lacks any substance, delivering a shallow and boring sci-fi movie. Original score, 2 out of 5. What frustrates me most about Underwater is just how very little it brings to the table. It's a solid, competently directed regurgitation of an oft-told tale that never manages to justify its own existence. Original score, 2 out of 5. Underwater is a stupefying entertainment in which every claustrophobic space and apocalyptic crash of water registers as a slick visual trigger, yet it's all built on top of a dramatic void. It's boredom and sense around. Joining the ranks of Sphere, Deep Star 6 and Leviathan as soggy alien do-overs. Underwater finds a few tweaks to the monster playbook, but not enough to make it live. Original score, 2 out of 5. For all the work the filmmakers have put into the structure and the aesthetic, they've failed to do much with the characters. Original score, 2 out of 5. Underwater has aims of being deeper, no pun intended, than a creature feature, but the disaster elements are given short shrift. Even Kristen Stewart can't overcome that. Original score, 2.5 out of 4. Underwater is not alien beneath the sea, although it desperately wants to be, from the close-up of barefoot Nora to having her run around in her underwear to the possible baby sea monster the crew captures at one point. The film is neither a too-big-to-fail event film nor a relatively low-budget genre sleeper. Original score, 1.5 out of 4. As always, be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Be sure to smash that like button. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next video.